Okay, I've got 10 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. And if you'll notice, both Terry and Craig are out today, so we'll discuss them. Heavenly Father, we ask you to be with both Terry and Craig today as they go through the issues that they've got to deal with today. We ask that you put your healing hands on the families and whoever else they need to have your healing hands on. We ask you to bless those that have served, that are serving today, and be with those families that are going to be missing them this coming Memorial Day. I ask that you guide us in the best for the meeting today, and ask that you bless those that are here with us today. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Okay, as you know, we have two agendas. One was required to be put out 30 days before for this meeting, and that's Texas state law for what we're going over for this public hearing, and then the other one is just our regular agenda that was put out. We'll go ahead and start on the first agenda. We're going to do that one first, that has the public hearing. At this time, any person with business before the court not scheduled on the agenda may speak to the court. No formal action can be taken on these items at this meeting. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes.
I'll let you go ahead and read Sheila's.
Okay, well, I'm going to do that one when we get to the public hearing portion of it. So, do you want to do yours now, or do you want to wait till the public hearing?
Public hearing.
Okay, all right, thank you.
What did you open? Is this not public hearing?
Not yet. No, this is the visitors forum.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. All right, so
None.
none there. I'm going to skip the interprecinct project schedule and staffing, and we'll go ahead to the public hearing on proposed tax abatement agreement with IP Lumina LLC. And that public hearing is open at
10:03.
10:03. All right, Sheila Eckert requested that I read her statement today. Said she's not going to be at the meeting today and she wants her opinion read. The only tax abatement that should be given is to the citizens of Scurry County. Many local constituents are finding it very hard to pay the bills. We are your constituents and deserve to be represented by the Scurry County Commissioners Court. It is a travesty that $1 million corporations can get a 10-year tax abatement without any questions or negotiations. Companies will still build here without them. The proposed battery storage station will still build in Scurry County because of the location. The storage station will not employ anyone from the county on a permanent basis either. We need permanent jobs for our citizens. In closing, the citizens of Scurry County are carrying the tax burden, not the multi-million-dollar corporations. It is time for the free ride to be over. Okay, Ms. Summers.
As for the proposed tax abatement being discussed in this hearing, I will add that there is, recently county commissioners in Brown County voted against a reinvestment zone, thereby saying no to a local tax abatement. If these green energies are a viable business, each would stand on its own without federal tax subsidies, state tax subsidies, and local tax abatements. The companies looking for such tax abatements only look in areas where they can receive the most free handouts. Tax abatements are seen as safe incentives with little downsides other than imposing significant costs on taxpayers. Local taxpayers are hurt when big money is allowed to game the system. Tax abatements are given after a reinvestment zone is established and the company will lease the land and make improvements on the land. According to section 312-402A of the Texas State Code, Tax Code, Ordinarily, improvements owned by a company leasing land are not real property, but personal property not eligible for an abatement. Here is a statement made by an Abilene area resident, Dale Rankin. What astounds me is how the commissioners, not just our commissioners, the whole state, have granted abatements willy-nilly in violations of the Texas tax code. And Rankin continued to say, that just boggles my mind that the commissioners simply don't know the tax code and granted millions of dollars in abatements. Each taxpayer should realize that abatements have numerous flaws, hidden costs, and should not even be serious consideration given to by local governments. Every taxpayer should realize that 85% of the projects receiving some of these tax breaks would have located in Texas without the special treatment. An example of the business being built with no tax abatements is the battery storage facility on 37th Street. There is a simple way without using tax abatements, and that is with lower taxes. Give all taxpayers a tax break, not just new businesses. The lower the property tax rate is, the more local governments will distinguish themselves as business friendly. A few downsides of green energy and this particular solar panel is leaching from broken panels is toxic due to inclement weather such as hailstorms, tornadoes, and earthquakes that can damage them. Solar powered generation is very inefficient when you look at the amount of land that is used to build a solar farm on. Land is destroyed in order to accommodate solar farms. This means trees, brush, and roots are removed, creating an ecological wasteland. Grading, trenching, road constructions are just a few of the things that compact the soil, likely delaying agricultural use for years after the project's end. Never mind that the solar farms have a cost of decommissioning at the end of their lives, and that process can also be toxic. The court should take into consideration that giving a tax abatement amounts to increased taxes for every homeowner and for every business. If any of our other taxing entities enter into the same tax abatement agreements with the same companies, that ends up costing taxpayers even more, especially with the school districts. This court should consider the damage and long-term effects on the land, and they should strongly consider how toxic solar waste would be if leaching occurs. This court should vote no on this tax abatement, and then this court should abolish the reinvestment zone that they established for this solar farm. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any thoughts in this public forum? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 10:09. Okay, court to discuss and consider tax abatement agreement with IP Lumina LLC for the project described as name and location is what I'll do. Northern Scurry County Energy Reinvestment Zone 1, located at the Scurry County line between US Highway 84 and Highway 208. The description is construction of an approximately 360 megawatt solar energy project with battery storage and hydrogen electrolyzer. The estimated cost of the improvement is $358 million. So, a little bit of information on this, what would happen with the agreement. The first 5 years of the agreement would be to that page. Scurry County would get $540 per megawatt at 360 megawatts. That's $194,000 a year on that first 5 years. The 6th through 10th years, Scurry County would get $1,540 per megawatt. That's $554,000, $554,400. I've spoken to some other taxing entities, and they are looking at agreements with these solar farms as well. I just don't see how adding money to Scurry County is hurting the taxpayer if we can use that to lower the tax rate. Just my thought on that part of it. So, any thoughts?
Because this is something that Scurry County has $0 invested in. Zero. We ain't building it. We don't own the land, nothing. And yet we can get a tremendous amount of money over time for not having a dog in the fight. So and me and Gail's talk.
Mhm.
But, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't do it. My thought. Now, if Scurry County was having to build it, Scurry County owned the land, yeah, but neither are the case. Neither is the case. And it's just money that Scurry County can use. Would they build it here still? I don't know. I do not know, but I'm not willing to take that chance that they would. So my motion is we grant the tax abatement.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? All right. Thank you. All right, now we'll go over to the other agenda. Do you need to discuss anything on in-precinct projects, scheduling, and staffing?
I got the opening, but that's nothing new.
Okay. All right.
We have one to retire.
Not officially yet, no. But yes.
All right, we'll go ahead and just hear the presentation from TAC on the health insurance. How are you doing, Kathy?
I'm doing good. Good morning, everyone. I actually made a little bit better time than I was anticipating. I was in Borden County before I came over here. As most of you know, it is renewal season again, and it's not going to be good news. Scurry County faced a lot of the same things this last year and the current year as they've been seeing over the last several years with the claims to their medical plan. Unfortunately, this year, most of our other groups that participate in the pool saw the same issues. COVID did have a huge impact on the pool as a whole, to the tune of about $16 million through April. Last year at renewal time, because we had overall, the pool as a whole, all the groups together, had a really good year. We were able to project and buy down some of the anticipated costs for COVID with last year's renewal. However, it exceeded by over half of what we had anticipated the total cost for all COVID claims to be. And COVID claims are the testing, hospitalizations, treatments, anything such as that. We budgeted we did budget straight up $7 million to cover the cost of those claims. And like I said, through April, we've more than doubled on that cost. So like I said, all the counties saw this. We are seeing claims for what is being called long hauler symptoms. We're seeing lung damage, heart damage. Could these conditions have been there prior to getting COVID? Most definitely. but it's not something concrete that we don't have good hard data at this point from our members, because some of those members were people who did not regularly go to the doctor. But we're starting to see some of those issues now. The biggest factor of what we're seeing in our claims data for the pool as a whole and with Scurry County is we're still seeing an increase in cancer claims. Just since this time last year, since last year's renewal, we have increased by 18% our cancer claimants, not claims, claimants. That's individuals with cancer has increased 18%. Since the 2017-2018 renewal season, our number of cancer claimants has doubled. Now that's now been 3-4 years ago between we started to see that increase. The medical field typically tells us that for someone who has cancer, once they go through treatment to get cleared, they have a higher increase of a secondary progressive cancer within a 3 to 5 year time period. That is part of what we're seeing, is an increase in the secondary progressives along with new ones. Some of the data does suggest, because a lot of these newer cancers are the earlier stages of cancer, which is always better for the members' health and on the claim side. They were probably found out because this person had COVID and had blood work done and all of this. So COVID has most definitely been a mixed blessing whenever it comes to our claims. Now, going through all of this just kind of gives you a snapshot as far as what we're seeing. The actual renewal, whenever we started the renewal process back in April, we were looking at an average of an 11% increase across the board, that being the average. We do know and knew at the time we were going to have a surplus distribution. That surplus distribution comes from our reserve funds. Say there's a major catastrophe that where a good portion of our groups temporarily can't pay their monthly contribution amounts for their claims. They can't pay their premiums, basically. That reserve fund, that's why we have it, is so we can go in, use that reserve fund to pay that, to keep the pool going, to keep our groups going until they can. We typically don't have to dip into that reserve fund because we have wonderful groups. But it is in an investment fund, and it's the same managers who manage TCDRS. So last year at the beginning of 2020, whenever the stock market took its dip, and that's being kind of optimistic because it wasn't just a dip, TCDRS and your retirement funds didn't lose money, and it was able to make it up pretty quickly. Same thing happened with our reserve funds. So we knew going into the renewal, we were going to have a surplus distribution. Our board has always told us if we can use some of that surplus distribution to buy down the renewal, go ahead and start figuring that in. The board did approve it this year with the renewal season. And because of some adjustments to how we operate in the plans as a whole, through it with Blue Cross and Navitas, we were able to get that average renewal down to 7.3%. That is the average. And then what we do is we go in and assess each group individually based on their history and performance. Typically, we only do 12 to 18 months look back on groups, just because of turnover, things like that. We look at their actual plan, what they have. We look at the different factors, demographics. So demographics is the average age of the group. how much it's actually costing us in claims for their area. For this Northwest Territory, which is basically from the southern end of Scurry County all the way up through the Panhandle, is the Northwest. We have three major hubs for care in this area. That's Amarillo, Lubbock, and Snyder. For the most part, the members here or employees here are going to Lubbock for their major care, anything outside of their primary care physician. This works well for Scurry County because with Lubbock, it's about an average of about a 5% decrease on the cost of the actual claims. Amarillo is about 5% higher. Abilene's about 5% higher than the average. The reason for part of this is because of the UT. Oh my gosh, I'm going to get shot by friends and family up in Lubbock. By the tech system because of their medical school. They have other avenues for dollars that they can bring their costs down within that system. Amarillo and Abilene doesn't necessarily have that they can use. So like I said, that's where it really helps with y'all going to Lubbock, besides just phenomenal care. Scurry County is on average a little bit higher on the age side of things for the average of the pool. The average of the pool is age 38, and that has pretty much maintained over the last several years. Northwest Territory on average is always older. The Northwest and then the West, so it's a little bit south of here and west to El Paso. We just have a hard time getting younger people to come to work for the counties. So our average age is typically older. Y'all's is a little bit less than most of the groups that I see. Whenever we go to look at the renewals and all of this together, it was not a good year for Scurry County. About half of our groups received the 7.3 or a little less. This is the first year I've been with TAC. This is my 6th renewal season. I've never had this many groups to get double-digit increases. As a matter of fact, I've only had 1 year prior where I even had one group to get a double-digit increase. This year, Scurry County is getting a 12% increase on their rates, unfortunately, because of all of those factors. What I have done is I've worked with Judge Hicks and Kirsta over the last couple of weeks. I kind of gave them an early heads up that this was coming. And we've been looking at different alternate plans that the county can opt into. They're provided in the packets of information that y'all have received. Unfortunately, this does include increasing the deductibles. And there's several different things that we can do for that information to maybe bring down some of that cost. One of the plans, one of the options that is open to Scurry County is what is called a Blue Essentials Network. And I'm going to be perfectly honest. I try to be as honest with my groups as I possibly can, and it has a tendency to get me in some hot water. This would be a huge savings if Scurry County adopted the Blue Essentials Network. Instead of that 12% increase, it would knock it down about 14%. So it would actually drop your current rate. However, it is a limiting network. It's an HMO. I provided Kirsta yesterday we did a side-by-side who your people are using as their providers, compared that to the Blue Essentials Network. There was a total of 7 about 7 providers that was not in either network. There was 1 or 2 out of that was in the regular Blue Cross Blue Shield network, but not in the Blue Essentials. And the main difference between an HMO and a PPO plan is not only is that network more limited, but there's no out-of-pocket benefit whenever it comes to an HMO. If the member or employee goes out of network, the insurance plan is not covering any of it. It's 100% on them. And there were quite a few out of network, totally completely out of network claims. There was a couple that was freestanding ERs. So not only do we need to do better about, explaining the differences between a regular ER and a freestanding ER, but we need to get that, the employees need to be sharing that with their dependents, because that was some of the case. The HMO is physician driven. You have to have a referral from, say, your primary care physician to another doctor, to a specialist. So it is physician driven. There's trade-offs. If you've got someone that's really good about staying within the network to keep the cost down on the plan, and they're out of pocket, it's a good deal. But if they're just going to be going basically, or just going to whoever can get them in, and that person is out of network, it's not a good benefit. Dollar wise, like I said, it's a good benefit. It drops your current costs. But there's 2 sides to every story. So, like I said, we've provided lots of alternates. I'm more than happy to answer any questions regarding those alternates you have. But if y'all want to look at even more, we can. I do not have good solid rates for the Blue Essentials network. They're still working on that. We had a lot of groups that wanted to look at that. So they're in the process of running all of them. That is something I can bring at a later date and provide. It's just not information I have in my hands right now. But we can always look at other plans, maybe come up with some other option. This is not a decision that has to be made today. We do have a little over a month. We don't need a decision until June 30th. So like I said, we do have time. I've already kind of penciled in dates to come back if y'all want me to. I live in Fisher County, so it's not more than a hop, skip, and a jump away that I'm more than happy to come back, okay?
I'd like forward to, maybe we have a full court.
Now I agree, but this question always comes up. And we discussed this the other day when we talked, was looking outside of TAC at private insurance, or with the Affordable Care Act or something along those lines. What are they doing? What are they seeing? What happens if we did get outside of
TAC? Yes.
ma'am.
For the way Scurry County has been running since I took over y'all's plan, going outside of TAC would not be a good benefit to the county, because the pool is kind of insulating you because your claims are so high. This with 2020, the average renewal for Blue Cross Blue Shield is hitting about 25%, 25 to 30. That's basically everything out in the real world is getting pretty much a straight 20, and 20 is on the low. Most other insurance companies, big insurance companies, United, Aetna, First Care, all of those are saying about the same. The benefit you get from the pool is because you do have other groups within the pool that on a typical good year, kind of like last year, Scurry County's was running high, but the majority of our groups were running low. We didn't have a lot of COVID claims with last year's renewal. We were just getting into it. Nothing really out of the ordinary, out of the box. It was a good year. While y'all got an increase last year, it wasn't a double-digit increase. And this is the first time in, I know, 6 years that y'all have seen a double-digit increase, and your claims have been higher in the past. So it's the other groups within the pool is what's helping y'all out. If you were out in the open market with your claims, you would not get the 12%. You would be looking at a 30%. And year over year, that's just kind of how we operate.
Also with TAC, yes, we have the health insurance side, but there's also the wellness side.
Right.
So the chronic illnesses, they have programs, they have weight loss programs. They have a lot of programs on the wellness side that we would not be able to receive in those open markets. So yes, there's the health insurance side, but that wellness side is a huge benefit, and it doesn't cost us anything outside of our health insurance plan.
And there's a lot of the open market plans, whenever it comes to the wellness, it's either an additional cost for those plans. Our board, our HEBP board, and the TAC big board has been willing to, for TAC, the association, to take on a lot of these costs for these additional programs. So the pool doesn't have to, and our group sure enough don't have to. A lot of what you will see out in the open market is employers are requiring employees to participate in a wellness program. Most of them is just a required annual physical every single year. And that requirement is a good step. It's not one that will allow you to see improvements overnight. And Stacy has a ton of information regarding the wellness program. I don't want to step on her toes. But this is things that may come to you at an extra cost, to where we're lucky enough we have an association that is going to walk through this with you and provide all of this. They're willing to take on the cost and not y'all having to.
Any other questions?
I didn't really think going outside of TAC would be an option. but
Well, that question comes up every year.
It does,
and
it
so
does.
I just wanted to address that.
And I'll be honest with you, one of the things that gets me into trouble, right now with the way your claims are going, I honestly doubt you would be, if you did go out for an RFP, you probably wouldn't get a lot of responses. If y'all had been running really, really well and saw a huge increase, I would tell you, TAC in our pool, it's wonderful. That's why I went to work for them from the county. I saw the benefits. But sometimes we're not always able to meet your needs, especially with the budget constraints that a lot of our counties are facing. So if I would tell you, I would, think you might get a better deal, just to get you through a 2 to 3 year, I would tell you that may be something you want to pursue. Because typically what the big insurance companies do is they buy business basically. They can come in, they can pick up new groups, drop those rates to get those new groups on board. If the group runs well, they may give them a flat renewal or 2%, 3%, a low renewal the next year. But I can almost guarantee you every single time that next year you're going to see a huge increase because they can only afford to take the losses over a short time period. They have stockholders that they have to provide profits for. Y'all are our stockholders. So, we don't necessarily have to, but our surplus distribution is always there also. The board meets in 2 weeks to finalize the surplus distribution. So before the end of June, I'll be able to tell you how much, because y'all will get a surplus distribution this year. But there's just lots of pros and cons for stepping out.
Mhm.
And like I said, I'm going to be honest with you. If it's not a good deal, it's not a good deal. But with where y'all are at and where y'all have been at, you're in the best place you can be at this point,
Okay.
even with
Well,
that 12%.
Like I said, I get that question every year and I've already gotten it this year. So I wanted to address that.
Okay.
So thank you. Thank you. Any other, can you suggest tabling until we get the full
Well,
court?
yeah.
I
I
think
agree
we
with
should,
that.
we don't have to decide today
Right.
because I think we need full.
It is a lot of information. I think we need to consider every side of everything, our budget, but also our employees' budget, and try to meet in the middle. So during this period, I hope the Commissioners Court will, open a dialogue back and forth. Let's try to figure out something that meets in the middle.
Well, that's about the whole, what visiting me and you've done over it, it's gonna be a give and take on both parts.
Okay.
Uh,
It is.
to make it good, as good as it can be for both sides.
Mhm.
And that's what we need to look at.
Yes, ma'am.
I assume she's talking about Texas Association of Counties.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
All the counties involved with that have to pay membership dues. And also they employ hundreds of lobbyists to go to Austin and spend millions of our taxpayer dollars to do that.
That's not accurate.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It
It's
is.
not accurate.
I've done the research.
I have to.
So,
Court to vote on county-specific incentives. Stacy, thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you for your time today. I appreciate it. My name is Stacy Grunton. I'm the wellness consultant for Northwest Territory for Scurry. And so if we're gonna do bad news, good news, I get to deliver the good news following that. So I'm gonna be going into a wellness strategy, what we're calling a county-specific incentive proposal. So think of this as your risk management solution to your health insurance benefits. And I'd ask if you would follow along with me in this. There's going to be just pages and numbers that I'm referencing as I go through. So this is through Healthy County, through the Health Employee Benefit Pool. So first off, I want to make sure everybody's just a reminder what Healthy County is and what we bring to the table, and what the strategy is that we have. It's a three-way partnership. It's Scurry County coming along board with the pool, offering the benefits, the health insurance benefits specifically to the county members. And it's tapped through the Health Employee Benefit Pool, providing access to all the wellness programs and resources, as far as including the wellness programs and resources to monitor and better engage members in managing their chronic conditions and increasing their health and well-being. But number three, and most important, it's the employees, it's the county members of Scurry County coming on board and taking part in these programs and making those responsible health decisions. So again, what strategies do we utilize? We want to reduce the costs and eliminate the barriers. Number one, to caring for chronic illnesses. So we want to keep those health insurance benefits where members can afford to go to their primary care physicians, to the specialists to care for those chronic illnesses. Really what we want to do, second of all, most important, we kind of go down the line, identify and reduce those preventable health risks among the employee population. We want to find out beforehand what's looming out there in the future. Those 1 in 3 diabetics that we know across the board statistically, we want to know that and catch it being the pre-diabetes stage before it's full-blown diabetic. And then number 3, and most importantly, we really want to keep our healthy people healthy so they don't transition into our chronic illness population. Because we all know on the next slide, the reality of healthcare costs across the board within our pool, within the state of Texas and the United States as a whole, there's 3 primary cost drivers. It's cancer, it's chronic illness, and it's musculoskeletal issues. And that's all related to our unhealthy lifestyle choices, whether it be the obesity, stress, diabetes, our poor nutrition, and our sedentary lifestyle. It's all driving those 3 cost drivers across the board for medical spend. Unmanaged health and for lifestyle choices, how it plays out in the benefit world, and what we're talking about specifically here today, unfortunately for Scurry County, is the higher cost claims. And that translates into higher employer premiums for Scurry County. That translates into budget issues across the board. You transfer that cost to employees, unfortunately, through higher deductibles, co-insurance, and premiums. So really what we want to talk about today is how to drive that down long term. It's not an overnight solution, but what can we do? How can we walk along beside you to stop that upward trend from year to year? Because as you look at here for the history report from 2015 to 2021, you were averaging about 3.7%. And then this year it's a 12%. So just like that previous slide demonstrated, every year you can count on that increasing with the chronic conditions. And the 3 drivers again are cancer, chronic conditions, and musculoskeletal issues. Remember, the ball is in our court with those 3 areas. Taking a closer deep dive into the medical spend for the last 3 years, from 2018 to 2021, you're looking at cancer as your number 1, musculoskeletal is your number 2, and then circulatory system is your number 3. And that's just a bucket that holds all of your heart disease, chronic condition related heart disease spend right there is number 3. The chronic conditions for the last 12 months, just again dialing down and taking a little bit closer view of that, it's going to be heart disease number 1 and diabetes number 2. In fact, across the board for all of our counties, it's those 2. Sometimes diabetes is number 1 and heart disease are number 2, but those are number 1 and number 2. And again, just translating that across the states, that's what we're looking at as Americans, driving our medical spend. And then depression is number 3 as well. So why? What is the benefit to implementing that county-specific incentive? Bottom line impact, the long-term cost control strategy. Healthcare costs double every 10 years at a rate of 7.2%. That's what you're looking at if you don't get a handle on your chronic conditions. And those 3 cost drivers across the board, where I mentioned before, the ball is in our court. That is what Scurry County is looking at just across the board. County-specific incentives allows the county to reward your members for engaging in the wellness programs. So you are incentivizing your individuals in making smarter choices because, again, approximately 85% of our chronic conditions and upwards to 90% of the lifestyle cancers can be either avoided completely or better managed through healthier lifestyle choices. So going back to our strategies and what we have available through our wellness programs is trying to manage that population and keeping our healthy people healthy. So again, the key to success, though, is engaging our members, and how you're going to do that is passing that incentive that allows you to reward your members for making those choices, those better choices. Right now, there's over 40 counties that have a county-specific incentive plan in place. So the next question that you might be asking yourselves is, yes, but how does the county fund these incentives? And I'm here to tell you that through one of the benefits of being within the pool is that the pool provides you money every year through employer rewards. There's 3 different ways that Scurry County can take part in the incentive process and get money back from the pool, get money from the pool to fund all of these incentives that I'm going to talk to you about today. The first one is through Sonic Boom, our physical activity platform. The more people that you have come on board and participate in Sonic Boom and complete the challenges, you get more money back. You get half the percentage of the population that completes those sonic boom challenges. The second way, and the biggest part of that bucket, is passing the county-specific incentive. That's worth 30% of a certain amount of money. You're at $7,000. I'm going to go over that in the next slide. But you will get $2,100 every year from the pool just by passing that county-specific incentive. And then the last portion of that bucket is having me out to do a wellness workshop. And the more people that you have attend, the more money you get back through employer rewards. I gave you the specifics on the next page, that the bucket that Scurry falls into, just based on your population, your eligible members, is $7,000. So that's money on the table available to you through the pool that you can in turn utilize to grow your wellness program and your engagement, funding your incentives. I gave you an example at the bottom. What would that look like hypothetically for plan year 2022? If half of your members, and that's very realistic, if only half of your members participated and completed the sonic boom challenges, that would be $1,750. Your bucket, again, for the CSI, that portion that comes to you is $2,100. If you had me out to do the wellness workshop, and again, only half of your members attended, which is very attainable, you would get another $1,120. So realistically, for plan year 2022, you're looking at just almost $5,000 that you would have at your disposal to fund your incentives. For 2020, just to give you a glimpse of where you're at right now, we weren't able to do a wellness workshop, and you had 12 members complete the Sonic Boom Challenge and get the $60 in Boomer Bucks. And again, before I move forward, I don't want to forget, Sonic Boom also has available incentives for the county members. If you complete a challenge, we have 4 a year, then you get $15 in Boomer Bucks, or $60 total for the whole year. So it's a 2-part win-win for the county members. They get incentivized through Sonic Boom, and again, the county has money available for them completing the challenges as well that they can in turn put back and invest in a wellness program. So you might be asking, what are the options available to us? What am I talking about when I'm talking about incentives? What do we incentivize to begin with? The number one, or the foundation to our CSI, is an annual physical exam. And then some counties choose to go ahead and add in, as I mentioned before, incentivizing individuals to complete the Sonic Boom challenges. The rewards on the table across the board for most counties in this territory, they grant the members an extra PTO, or paid time off day. If that doesn't work for certain departments or elected officials, then there's also a gift card on the table as well. And sometimes some counties make it very flexible and let the county members choose. Do they want the gift card, or do they want the extra day off? This is very flexible. We come alongside the counties and then we design that specific to Scurry County, depending on what works best for Scurry. And again, on the next page is more options available, because again, that annual physical exam just lays the necessary foundation. It's not going to give you the long-term return on investment or decrease in medical spend that you're looking for. It just lays that necessary foundation. You add to that every 2 to 3 years. One of the ways that you can add to that is by incentivizing members to come alongside and take part in the condition management programs that are available, either through the pool, through, for instance, Luvongo, which is through Blue Cross Blue Shield as well, or the condition management that's offered through Blue Cross Blue Shield through one-on-one health coaching. And then again, the physical activity incentives as well. So I want to briefly go into, as I mentioned, that the annual physical exam is the foundation for the CSI. Why? Because we have found across the board, evidence-based research tells us that members who receive an annual physical exam cost an average of 22% less than members who do not get an annual physical exam. And I can tell you, at this rate increase that you are seeing, that's a huge savings across the board right there. If you can get your members actively involved in getting their annual physical exam across the board, a 22% cost savings. Why? Because it detects issues earlier. We're saving lives, and it costs less to treat than letting those catastrophic events come into play, which is what you're looking at for those who don't manage their chronic conditions over time. And then awareness of biometric screenings. inspires more lifestyle changes than being blissfully ignorant. And I'm right on board with that. Sometimes ignorance is bliss, but not playing Russian roulette with your health. Just saying. Why include condition and lifestyle management? I told you that's a necessary step, looking at the long-term benefits, the return on investment for participating in the county-specific incentive. Because a member with a well-managed condition is less likely to have that catastrophic event, that heart attack, that transplant, that amputation, so to speak, if we're looking at diabetes, for example. On average, the compliant members, those who have those chronic conditions, are seeing their PCP annually, who are taking part in active condition management. There's a potential savings of $9 to $11 per member per month. And folks, that's huge when you look at what you are spending per member per month for your chronic conditions alone. And then last, why include physical activity? Well, across the board, all-cause mortality decreases by 30%. Increasing your physical activity drives down heart disease by 30%, type 2 diabetes by 40%, some forms of cancer by up to 30%, hip fractures, which is your musculoskeletal bucket, number 2 for the county, by up to 68%, dementia, 30%, depression, that's number 3 for y'all, 30%. Across the board, increasing physical activity, you're going to see a return on investment. But do they work? That's one of the questions that always follows a presentation like this. But yes, does it really work? What are we really going to see? So I've given you 2 slides for a sample county success story within the pool. Within Southern Territory is where this county is located. They implemented a county-specific incentive in 2011, and we finally have the data come 2018 to take a hard look at the return on investment, the benefit to counties who come alongside and aggressively implement a county-specific incentive. They did not come to this return on investment that I'm fixing to go over in just a minute by just implementing the physical exam. They took it step by step. They implemented that annual physical exam. They had their members come alongside and be better managed with their chronic conditions through that condition management, the condition management resources we have available. They incentivize their members for taking part in Sonic Boom, and they also had the biometric screenings as well as part of the incentives. So members had to come alongside to get the reward and really get into those healthier range as far as their blood pressure, their blood sugars, their cholesterol levels, and so forth. So in 2011, very much like what Scurry County is looking at, they have diabetes with a transplant, meaning that's not very well managed, cancer and heart disease as their top 3 medical spend drivers. As I mentioned, that's true across the board. And they also had Crohn's disease, which is inflammatory. That's a chronic condition, lifestyle based. They started out at 517,000 across the board in 2011 and came down to 385,000 in 2018. So what's the difference? From 2011, again with diabetes with complications being their number 2, number 4, and heart disease with chest pain, which is going to be a catastrophic event in time. You're almost guaranteed. In 2018, for their number 1, they looked at injury and poisoning. That's what we call an outlier. That's a one-off. That's not something that's going to be formulated moving forward in your medical spend across the board, looking at where you're going to be next year, where this county was going to be in the future. That was a one-off. In fact, I didn't even count their claim for injury poisoning, tabulating the figures for 2018. It was cancer, musculoskeletal, and nervous system. What's gone? Diabetes, completely off the list. It doesn't mean they don't have diabetic claims. It's no longer their top drive medical spend for the county, and neither is heart disease. Folks, that's $131,000, 670, or $131,000 basically on average of preventable claims avoided. Did they see a return on investment? Absolutely. Important considerations. I want to make sure that we're on the same page. There is no cost to Scurry County or the county members for participating in any of the HCP pool Healthy County Resources wellness programs. There's no cost to Scurry County for implementing the county-specific incentive. All participation in the healthy county programs, the wellness programs, the county specific incentive, getting an annual physical exam, those are all completely 100% voluntary. And all incentives, again, for Scurry County can be paid with out of that employer rewards bucket that I went over with you earlier. So you might be asking, where do we go now? So the next steps are to vote through Commissioner's Court, vote on implementing the county-specific incentive every year, and to kick it off, TAC comes alongside and develops, designs brochures to hand out to every single county member, and this will have Scurry County's name on it, and on the pages that are included, there will be everything that is encompassed in the county-specific incentive, exactly what the reward is and how the employees need to go about getting that incentive or that reward. And then through Sonic Boom, there is tracking available as well, as far as who's getting your annual physical and keeping tabs on that. I went through that fairly quickly. Are there any questions that you have as far as delving in deeper into the county-specific incentive?
A lot of information today. So I have put together some options along with what we are currently doing to bring to y'all's attention. These are just options. We can add more, we can take away. We just need to define what we're going to do for TAC.
Thank you, Stacy.
Excellent. So currently what we're doing is for every Sonic Boom challenge that is successfully completed, the employee gets $25. Then there is an additional $50 for every 4 challenges completed. Last year we had 15 participants in there. This year it looks like we'll have a little bit less. While I do think this is a good benefit, and we should continue it for a few years, I would like to look at other ways that don't necessarily cost as much money directly to the employee on the county's part. That would be implementing like a Sonic Boom raffle. So for every challenge that's successfully completed, your name gets put into a raffle, and then for completing all 4 challenges, there would be a second raffle. So that's one option. Another option 3 is doing a wellness day. So for completing an annual physical or a well woman exam, the employee would get a choice of a PTO day or a $50 gift card, depending on the department heads and elected officials. We have some department heads and elected officials that are having issues right now giving their employees off just for holidays. So I don't want to burden anybody by this, but I do want to incentivize our employees to get these annual physicals. Option 4 is just completing an annual physical or well woman exam and getting your name entered into a raffle drawn at the Christmas party. Then we go to option 5. And when we have discussed this in years past, and this would be something new that Scurry County hasn't done, but it's bringing in a company to do our annual physicals at open enrollment. So they would set up at open enrollment, employees and their dependents can come in, get their finger pricked. They will run a test, and it'll test for your A1Cs, your cholesterols. They'll do a body mass index scan, all right there. And then you'll get to talk to a physician immediately. So by doing that, I would like to really push that this year. We have a lot of employees who do not get their physicals, so having it right there during open enrollment would really benefit our employees. And so I would really like to push that, and by doing that, I would like to give them, again, a choice of a PTO day or a $50 gift card. Any questions, thoughts? Lots of information.
So not just one, necessarily one option, but there could be several.
There can be
options.
several. You can choose option 1 and option 5 if you wanted to. Those I think are some of our best options to really push this year to try to get people to be more active during the Sonic Boom challenges, and then the catapult pushing that wellness exam, since they will be here and it's something new for our employees.
Is that your recommendation, 1 and 5?
Yes.
Okay.
1, 5, I like raffles. I think
Yeah.
it's, especially during our Christmas party, I think it would be engaging, starting of a brand new year. So those who do not currently participate in Sonic Boom, I think if they see our employees getting raffles and winning prizes, then it could potentially engage other employees.
She's looking at me.
You're just straight across from me.
Just trying to engage you.
Yes, yes. We need to, now all this will be paid for out of this 7.
Yep.
That's what I thought.
And by passing this plan today, you get an automatic $2,100.
That's what I was fixing to say, we need to pass the plan.
We also are already set up to host a wellness workshop July 14th and 15th.
Well, I don't see a thing wrong with it at all. It's gonna benefit anybody that wants to partake,
Absolutely.
help the county out. And, so,
We have had counties, make that mandatory. That is something that if the county would like to discuss, making open enrollment and the wellness workshop mandatory, then of course, you know for sure you have a little bit better idea where you're going to be falling with the employer rewards for 2022.
don't know that,
And I would just encourage you just to make it clear that on number 5, it says the catapult, but again, if members go to their PCP, then
Right.
of course they're going to be eligible for that incentive as well, because we certainly don't want to detour. Catapult is a phenomenal resource because it eliminates one of the barriers. And, you know, people don't have to take off work, go sit in the doctor's office for 2 hours to get a 25-minute exam. So it's fantastic. Even those who have a PCP and take part in Catapult, that's okay. It doesn't use their annual exam for the year. They can do both. And of course, those with chronic conditions, we want to make sure and encourage they are seeing a PCP. That necessary rapport and relationship that they're building across the board, monitoring year after year after year is definitely a benefit too. So just so everyone knows and is on the same page, it's getting physical exams across the board.
Thank you.
So it would be catapult, annual physical, or well woman exam. And I saw on the slide it had by October 31st. Is that what you'll recommend, or?
Yes, if you're a 1/1 renewal group, then you have 9 months. So your year will run from January 1 to the end of September, actually, because we need two months just to tabulate who got their exams and who's eligible for the reward. So it's not a 12-month calendar year, it runs 9 months.
Okay.
And I just need to change the slide, I'm sorry.
And I apologize, Sean, this is for the 2021-2022 plan year. This is not for the year we're currently in.
right, well, I figured.
Yeah.
But I think it would be a fine deal to do, except, I don't think it needs to be made mandatory after the year that this country's had of being told what to do for right now. Make it a voluntary basis. Because I have a problem with mandatory. I really do. So,
And please don't misunderstand me, I only meant that for the workshop.
Oh,
So,
right.
you know, across the board, definitely for getting annual physical exams, that's
Right.
always voluntary or participating in any of it. But, yes, definitely.
Good.
That's completely up to the county. We don't manage that for you.
The workshop would basically be our safety meeting.
well, if we're gonna do it that way, do you want a motion to take part in the CSI and then another one for this? The ones that we're gonna.
I think this would be included in that because it's specifying which options we're gonna do in the county specific.
Okay. Well, my motion is that we implement CSI with county-specific incentives.
Do you want,
Well, y'all said option one
One and
and
five.
five.
Including which would include, when we do that, we would include the well woman exam or the exam by the doctor.
So essentially, option 3 and 5 get combined.
Okay,
Okay.
one,
Yep.
3, and 5.
1, 3, and 5.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? All right. Thank you, Stacy.
Judge Hicks, I did forget one thing in that, them talking about the range of dates.
I was thinking about that.
One of the things that we have discovered is your benefit plan does not follow your budget year. And that is very confusing because we're renewing with rates at one point and it has a tendency to throw off a whole budget, and makes calculating that budget very difficult for the months going forward. Typically, we try to line up the two, just to simplify things. And Scurry County has asked us about that, and we do have a plan where we can accomplish that this year. We don't have a lot of options. We need to renew y'all October 1. But we can run it as 2 plan years at the same rate. It will not, your employees won't have to pay 2 sets of deductibles. Either on your current plan or if any alternate, that total deductible and maximum out of pocket would apply to both. It's not, you have to pay, the deductible for this 6 months and then a full deductible for the next 6 months. What we would do is we would run this first one from October 1st through April 30th. And then we would renew it at the same rate for May 1st through December 31st. We have to do that because the computer systems don't recognize in this field for anything over 12 months. They have a tendency to break down and freak out and fry things. So that was the simplest option that we could come up with that would work. So that is something whenever y'all do decide on your renewal, that is something we can fold into that and accomplish this year to where your budget and your plan year are synced going forward.
I mean, we talked about that.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it's hard to do.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been there and it's not an easy process.
Right. So they've come up with a way to fix that problem.
Right?
Yes,
But we'll have to do the 2 6-month deals in order to fix the problem.
yes.
Yes.
To get everybody back on the same, because we're year to year.
Right.
So,
But it would basically be the same.
right,
It's not going to change rates or anything like that. until-
right, but it'd be 2 6 months. Yeah.
Well, 6 and then, is it 7 or 8?
7.
7 months. Yeah, that extra month throws the whole thing out.
Right, right. That was that October deal.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Okay, thank you. You waiting for the policy?
Yeah.
All right.
Deep breath.
We'll discuss and consider health insurance policy for future retirees.
So here I'm just asking the Commissioners Court to define who retires from Scurry County specifically, and then who has access to our retiree health insurance. Just a clarification, what number do y'all want the potential retiree, the employee, how many years would you like them to work for Scurry County?
And that's the only change in what's been, what we've done. What this policy just clarifies that aspect of it. It'll be the same as what's been happening with. in the past.
Potentially, there's never really been a policy, a defined policy. And so I'm sure, Nelda, they knew, but I would just like a defined policy of what the Commissioners Court would like.
what, we talked about this, what is current?
Mhm.
8, is that right? Or,
We do have retirees that, did work for the county 8 years, and then got health insurance. So if that's what the Commissioners Court would like, we can more than certainly just define that. They need to work concurrently for 8 years
with no gaps?
with no gaps.
Are we talking just the current employees that go to retire? Are we talking new employees from this point
From
on?
this point forward,
Any new employee from this point forward?
yes.
Or all employees?
I don't see why we wouldn't. That's up to the Commissioners Court. We can do new employees from this point forward, or just make it this our new policy
And when,
for every employee who, may retire next month, or
Well, let's just do that, and that encompasses all of them, doesn't it? And doesn't hurt nobody,
not as far as I know.
because we make the policy and define the 8 years. I mean, that's the way it is. If that's what court wants.
starting when?
Starting today.
Any legalities on that?
The only, maybe not legalities, the court can change the policies whenever they want. I don't know if we have any employees who hit our retirement system, which I think if you hit 60 and you have 5 years of service, you're eligible to retire through the TAC plan, but they wouldn't be eligible under this 8-year continuous service. That's the only difference off the top of my head without having thought about it that I can see. And I don't know how many of those we have, or probably rare.
I don't know. Nobody that I have talked to be honest, that has asked questions about our retiree insurance. So yes, what it would be, would they have to reach TCDRS eligibility, which is a roll of 80, which is number of years worked for Scurry County, and their age must equal 80, and 8 years continuous service with Scurry County.
But they could hit their TCRS with 5 years of service and 60. Because that's another, we have 3 different triggers.
Yeah, we have three different.
30 years of service or 60 plus 5 years of service, I think. So really the only one that would apply would be 60, they hit 60 and they have 5 years of service, so they qualify for TCDRS payments, but they wouldn't qualify under, so that's a one outlier.
Yeah. And
But I don't know that we have any employees that,
we do.
okay.
I found one the other day.
Okay.
We do have a few employees. But again, if you've kind of hit that range, you probably been working with Scurry County for a while. The one that I saw has over 20 years of experience with Scurry County. So
Thank you. 15 years or 8 years? So
Yeah.
what your thought is?
Yeah.
Did you want to go to, did you want to include that outlier? Or no?
Well, I don't think you necessarily do because they are still qualifying for retirement through TCDRS.
Mhm.
So it's required TCDRS retirement and 8 years of service with Scurry County. So you have to reach both of those eligibilities in order to get our retiree health insurance.
Learned way too much today. Way too much. Or maybe not.
If you're not learning, you're not growing, right?
Go ahead.
If you're not learning, you're not growing, right?
That's true. That's true. Yeah, we might as well include it.
Include that outlier.
Yes.
Yes.
So how do you want it to read? Because I'm confused why you would need to include it.
You
Is it
think that
because they only worked for Scurry County for 5 years?
if they're 60?
If we're, yeah,
So you want somebody who's worked for Scurry County for 5 years to
Matching.
have our health
Matching.
insurance?
Matching the TCDRS, is that what you're saying? That outlier on the
because
TCDRS
that is 5 years, correct?
and 60 years old.
And 60 years old.
Right. And then they would be able to retire and get insurance after working for 5 years
Well, if we
at
do,
60.
that kind of negates the 8 years.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? I mean, there's me, because right now, that's 5 years, and that's the reason we're doing this policy is to say when they, years of service, correct?
Correct.
So no, we don't need to include that, I'm sorry. It's, yeah, because that's just gonna foul things up.
Okay.
Because that's both ends fighting against the middle, doing it that way. So,
Just 8 years of
it's
service?
8 years.
8 years of service.
Is that a motion?
Yes,
That's the policy with the 8 years of service.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
All right, all in favor? I'll get that already. Okay. I'm gonna skip this one, D, and come back to it in a minute. Discuss and consider going out for bids for roofing contractors with the aid of Armco Industries for hail damage sustained to roofs of county buildings from recent hailstorms. So,
Greg from Armco is here.
okay, all right, thank you. How are you doing today?
Good, Judge Hicks. Thanks, thanks for letting me come in.
Yes, sir.
So, guys, I guess you know that we've sustained some heavy hail here in Scurry County. I'm currently working with the school district as well as the hospital in Western Texas College. We're seeing a lot of hail damage throughout town. Now, I had a chance to walk some of your buildings, and again, we're seeing some damage there as well. Armco Industries, we're an architectural and engineering firm. We've been helping you guys out since 2005. I think I may have had a little bit more hair back in 2005, but we've enjoyed the partnership that we've had with you guys over the years. A recommendation at this time would be that after we walk the roofs with the insurance carrier, the steps of hail are as follows. You have to agree that it hails. You have to agree that there's damage. That's a whole other thing with the insurance carrier. Then you have to agree the scope. They owe you for lot, kind, and quality. Meaning if you have a Cadillac, then they owe you for a Cadillac. So basically what we will do is we'll write a scope of work around whatever the insurance carrier and us agree to, okay? We put that on the streets. After we do the specifications, we put that on the streets. We let the roofing contractors come and we let them all bid apples to apples. We have a lot of roofing contractors in town right now, and everybody has a miracle in a bucket and a miracle in a rope, right?
Mhm.
So we want to put that thing out for exactly what we have in place. Also with what you have and what we have to have according to code. So a lot of times Now, once you expose the deck, if you have 2 or more roofs, it has to go all the way down the deck. You expose the deck, you're bound by the International Energy Conservation Code, which requires us to go back with 4 inches of ISO or 4.5 to meet R25. Okay, so you're looking at close to 4.5 to 5 inches of insulation there. That is covered by your insurance carrier. Okay, but when we put all that stuff together, we compile that in the specifications. We put it out on the streets with the qualifications that we require, such as workman's comp, all these other things that we want in place, proper insurances and things of that nature. So we put that on the streets, let the bids come back, and the market value pricing is what the market value pricing is. A lot of times right now, what we're seeing is the Exactimate programs that these insurance carriers are using. And that's a statewide average of what it costs for a roofing system, okay? And those are no good right now. You're seeing in the industry right now, you can't get insulation. We're 3 months out on insulation. We're 6 months out probably on screws and fasteners to put that insulation down. It's just a really tricky market right now. And as you know, lumber, metal, things of that nature have gone through the roof. So the Exactimate program is not going to work. That's why it's so important that we put it out for bid. We agree on the scope of work. And once we agree on the scope of work and we put it out for bid, the roofing contractors dictate the market. Not me, not you guys, the roofers. Okay? And then from that point, we'll help you through the process of grading. You know, it's very important that we have a good grading criteria in place. We help with the pre-construction meeting. We're with you from cradle to grave. So we don't just go away after we write the specs. We're doing inspections on top of the roof, making sure that the job is being put on according to specs. And then we help close the project out. So that in a nutshell is how Armco works. Because you are a public entity, we are at 7.5% of the roofing contract price. Okay, and because you are a public entity, you do have to go out for bid on projects over $50,000. You do require professional services, and that's what we are. The insurance carrier pays our fee. I think since 2005, since we've been working for us, y'all have not paid Armco enough. Y'all have not been out any cost for our services.
Okay.
We are local. We're here whenever you need help. Whenever there's a roof leak, we're here. So.
Okay. Any thoughts or questions?
No.
Need to do something.
One question.
Yeah. How many buildings have you looked at already, and how many of those have damage?
I've looked at 5.
Okay.
5 to 6 so far. The library is damaged. We're leaking there. This building is damaged.
Mm-hmm.
This building, I think this roof was put on in 2005, I think is when we closed this project out.
Okay.
So it's close to 20 years old. I looked at the Boys and Girls Club. That is damaged. The senior center is also damaged. Library, I think I've already said that one, but we've looked at 5 to 6 buildings. Now, some I've seen that are fairly new, like the EMS building, they're not damaged, that roof held up well. And then the building right across the street, the adult probation, that we just put that on a couple of years ago, and that looks like it's in pretty good shape.
Good.
Okay. So the adjuster is going to want to walk everything you have in the county, everything. So we'll be walking everything and looking at everything.
Okay.
I think we should allow them to go out for bids.
I agree. Sign a contract, go up to
Yeah.
bids with Armco.
Because they've been with us since 2005, so.
You said that's been nearly 20 years, and 2005 doesn't seem like nearly 20 years ago.
It doesn't. It doesn't seem like I've been here that long.
We're doing our best to make it seem that way, though.
Yeah.
Yes, that's my motion.
All
Go
right.
out for bids.
I'll second it then. All in favor? All right.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank
your
you.
trust and allowing us to do
Absolutely.
it for your team.
Now we need to approve the following specifications for roofing contractors. evaluate criteria related to, and you said purchase price 30 points, qualifications 20 points, reputation 20 points, experience 20 points, and county needs 10 points. Where did those numbers come from?
We use those in the school district.
Okay.
And basically, we don't want the price to basically be the reason why you have to go with a particular roofing contractor, okay?
Mhm.
So you may have had a roofing contractor that's been here since 2005. Well, that would gain them 20 points,
Mhm.
you know? Basically, with those grading criteria, it protects you.
Okay.
You have a guy that comes in that you don't know anything about, and he probably did this job from Houston, Texas. He's never stepped foot. It gets you a way to get around that, okay, legally. And we always go by the best for the county. What's best for the county, and it's not necessarily always pricing.
Sure.
As long as they meet the needs, as long as they're meeting the spec and all that good stuff,
Mhm.
that's what you want to go after.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll make the motion that we go with the criteria set forth by.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
All in favor? Very good. All right, thank you. Appreciate you. All right, we'll go back up to discuss and consider going out for bids on the above ground tanks at the Scurry County Fuel Station. I'll let you.
We purchased that 8 months ago, a year ago.
Yeah, something like that.
And anyway, all the tanks that we use are underground, and they have some steel tanks above ground. And I've been approached by a company here in Snyder that's interested in them. And if we can, which we have to go out for bids, but they're just standing there doing nothing. And it would probably look better without them anyway. So that's the reason that's on there. It'd dress it up if they can, because we're not using them, and we're not gonna use them, because we have, 8,000 gallons for each fuel underground stored. That's lots of fuel.
So we're going out for bids to sell them, not buy
Yes,
them.
to
Okay.
sell them. I guess what they'll create a bid packet, kind of like we do for
Right.
road material.
Those aren't connected. They are connected at some point, so
They are.
we need to
Yeah.
make sure that there's no damages done to our current.
Yeah, but they're connected to another set of underground tanks that we currently don't use.
Mhm.
So, no, they're not. There's no way it'll get contaminated, because when we unhook them, we can cap all that off, because there's steel tanks that took to the current fuel tanks underground that are not being used.
Okay, I was aware of that. Okay. I was just told they were connected, so I was a little
Yeah.
concerned.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
piping is above ground, and we can put in the specs, removal, disconnection, and
Yeah.
protection of underground, something like that, or.
Any damages occur thereof or something.
Mhm.
Mike's good at that.
Well, I think we want some county supervision too on the removal. We don't want a commissioner or somebody there watching, make sure, somebody that's familiar with the system, make sure that it's disconnected properly and the damages.
It's sealed properly.
I can take the sign too.
Take the sign too. We could include the sign in there.
You're just trying to get that done for little or nothing,
Hey,
which suits me,
yeah.
suits me.
We'll just say the tanks.
But I'll make a motion that we go after bids to sell the above ground tanks. And specifications, so what Mike those should be included.
Second, Derek.
Okay. You all right with that? With drawings up specs. All right, all in favor? Okay. All All right, now we'll do line item transfers and budget amendments.
There's not any.
There's none?
Just before you adjourn, I think on that first agenda, did you want to go over the road use agreement?
Oh,
On
yeah,
that 30-day agenda, I think we skipped that one.
yes,
Yes, we
you're
could.
right. That's, thank you. The road use agreement. Schedule may need to be changed. It's final as of May 18th. They do have a farm to market road on there. We don't do farm to market roads, so we would look at striking that off of there. But it's the same road use agreement we do on all the others. And it includes 3 county roads, 2127, 2148, and 2121.
They'll just strike the farm to market road, plus state anyway.
Right. Any thoughts or questions on the road use agreement?
We've had pretty good success with them so far. Just strike that F in off of it,
Yeah, I've done that.
so we're looking at that.
Okay. Your motion to approve the road use agreement then?
I'll make a motion to approve the road use agreement, striking the FM road, include only county roads.
Okay, did you already say that?
That kind of thing.
All right,
Second.
all right, all in favor? All right, thank you. And accounts payable.
Accounts payable is $388,232.06.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
All in favor?
Any more of that?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
At least I'm getting a second, not a,
That's true.
I'm shocked.